Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about OSDoge 1.5. In the new board they didn't upgrade enough things on it to call it OSDoge 2 I guess, so they just call it 1.5. But the upgrades that they did add are all very helpful and useful options that they added. So we're just going to be looking at the two boards side by side right now. As you can see, this is the original board and then this is a 1.5. So the biggest difference you'll see is that they removed this big silver cap off the board. This silver cap is it's a capacitor for your LC filter. So on some of the older boards, like say if you fly and you crash, this thing always gets knocked off. If you're flying one of the older boards and your capacitor fell off, you can still fly your board. Your video just won't be as clean as if you had this. And also, if you're flying 4S, if you have your cap missing, your transmitter is gonna make this high-pitched squeal sound. It's harmless. It's just annoying. You can still fly without it. But on the new one, they removed it, so you can see the new board it's a lot thinner than the old one. So you can see the old board is like 7.3 millimeters or something, and the new one is 5.5. And then also you can see on the old board they had the jumpers on the back, and they had these little tiny rectangles. But then the new ones, they changed them to these little arrow diamond shaped thingies. But they worked exactly the same as the old ones. It still has 3 pads, left, center, and right. So to use these jumpers, all you do is connect the middle to the left or the right. So if you want the 12 volt, you would connect middle and then the 12 volt jumper, and you would leave the black or the 5 volt unsoldered. If you want the 5 volt, just go center 5. Don't connect all 3 at the same time, because you'll probably kill the board. So it works the same way as the older ones. The jumper is just bigger and they're easier to use now. But one thing you should be paying attention to is if you're gonna put the header on, the 90-degree header on, facing in like this, it's gonna be hard to access the jumper. So before you put in the header, go ahead and set your jumpers to whatever settings you need, and then put this header on, like, stuck, like that. Because once it's on, it's kind of hard to get to. And then it's got the same jumpers. It's got the VTX camera and then your battery selector. So you've got your camera here, VTX here, and then here's your battery selector. And then another feature that the 1.5 has is that it has this little idiot LED right here. So what this does is it tells you if you connected your power on backwards. Like on the old board, if you connected your VBAP to your OSDoge backwards, it would instantly fry this little, I don't know what this is, diode or whatever. It would, once you connect it, you'll just see some smoke puff from this board and your board is dead. So on the new board, if you connect your battery backwards, this little idiot light will turn red, telling you your power is on backwards. And so if you did that, it won't kill your board instantly. It'll just turn red, and you flip it back around, plug it in, it'll turn blue, saying the power is correct. And then also on the 1.5, it comes flashed with the 1.6 version of the firmware. We'll get into that later. And then another difference is that when you have your OSDoge stacked on top of the naze like this, you'll see the naze ground goes to positive ground here, TX RX, TX RX, and then your ground 5 volt goes right there. Once you have it stacked with the pin headers, you can see the USB now matches up, whereas on the old board it didn't match up. See, it's kind of like off to the side, but on the new one it does match up. Okay, so here I'm just going to quickly show you how to set up the OSDoge. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the jumpers. So I'm going to be using a 12-volt camera. So I'm just going to touch these two jumper pads right here and just add some solder on there and just make sure both of them are connecting. And then I'm going to be running a 12-volt VTX. So just touch both and then touch the solder to it. That's all you need. And then I'm going to be running this on 4S. So just touch the 4S and then just add a little solder. That's it. So once I got my jumper set, I'm going to add in my 90-degree pin header for the camera and VTX. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in, and I'm just going to pin down one of the leads. Doesn't matter if it's straight or crooked. So once you have it pinned down, you can see it's a tiny bit crooked, so I'm just going to hold it down and then just touch this. And then it's going to sit perfectly for you. And then next, all you have to do is just set the rest, or solder the rest of the jumpers, or I mean solder the rest of the pads. So you can see it doesn't take much heat at all. I'm just going to touch the pad and the pin at the same time, and then just touch the solder where the 3 points meet. So just like that. You can see the solder is nice and shiny. There's no bubbles, and everything is all uniformed. So once you got your jumper set and your header on, now you're going to put in the 2-pin connector for the battery. And it's labeled battery right there, so you don't get confused. And this one is just going to connect directly to your PDB or your battery. Same thing, I'm just going to tack one of them down. And then I'm going to push it in. Just make sure you're not pushing the pin you just soldered, because it's going to get super hot. And now it'll sit perfectly flat for you. And just solder the other one down. So that's it for the OSDoge. Next, we're going to stack it onto the NACE32. As you can see, I already got my NACE32 right here set up for the OSDoge. I got my buzzer header right here, and then my 4-pin connector for the ESCs. So all I'm going to do is put these little stacking pins in where they're supposed to go. So I'm just going to put one at TXRX right there. Put another one for VBAT, and then the other one is going to go on the plus and negative on channel 6. And then it's just, as you can see, you can kind of see where the pin headers are going to stack into the holes. So it's kind of lining up, and then just make sure your headers are going through the holes. And once it's on, I like to put two of these nuts just to keep it in place. And another one of the good features that they did on the OSDoge is they removed any important components near these posts, because on the old one they had this one, I don't know if it was a resistor or whatever, it was really close to one of these nuts. So if you're using pliers and you try to turn it and slip, you would knock that little component off. And if that happened, you wouldn't get a video feed. So on the new one, they removed all the important components away from these binding posts, so you're less likely to knock off any important parts. So now next thing I like to do is just get a little flathead screwdriver and just put them in between here and just kind of push the pins apart so they're seated firmly into their holes, like that. So once it's like that, you can solder the rest of it up. So now I'm going to solder the pin headers onto the boards. Same thing, you just touch it really quickly and add a little bit of solder. It doesn't take a whole lot of heat. I have my soldering iron set to about 700 degrees right now. So when you're soldering, just make sure you're not holding your soldering iron on the pads for too long, because if you do, you're going to overheat the pads and then they're going to separate from the board. Then you're screwed. Whoops. This one's a little harder. So same thing for the back. As you can see, I'm only touching the pads for like a second or less than 2 seconds each. If you're holding it for longer than that, then your soldering iron is not hot enough, or you're doing it wrong. Alright, so that's pretty much it for setting up the OSDoge with the Naze32. I'm not going to get too into the install because I've already done two other posts on it. I'm just going to focus more on the differences between the OSDoge 1.5 versus the original. So this one is basically ready to go. This Naze32 is set up for PPM. If you're running SBus with like a X4R SB or XSR, you would connect this connector that goes to your receiver, ground, 5 volt, and then your signal, your SBus, is going to go to pin 4 right there instead of pin 1. I don't know if you can see that. So you'll go ground, 5 volt, and pin 4. So yeah, and then your buzzer is going to go here, and then your battery is going to go right here. So the software setup is almost identical to the old version. The only difference is how you set up the RSSI, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, rather than show you every single step you need to install the GUI on your computer, just refer to my 2 other posts or one of my build videos. It shows you exactly all the steps that you need. So I'm just going to focus on the parts that's different on the OSDoge 1.5. So you're just going to follow all the steps like you did for the original OSD, except instead of downloading 1.5 GUI, you're going to download 1.6. We're just going to go here, and then just going to download 1.6. Download anyway. I'm just going to open it up, go to the GUI, and then just select the version that you're going to be using. I'm using a Mac, so I'm just going to use a Mac version, and then I'll probably get an error when I open this. So if you get this error, it doesn't mean that the file's damaged or anything. It just means it's a firewall error. So hit cancel, and then just go to your settings, and then go to security, unlock this, and then just click anywhere, allow from anywhere, and then just go back here and open it up. Okay, so once it's open, you can go back here and just set whatever settings you had before. So in order for me to get my OSDoge to connect, I have to plug in my OSDoge to the USB and into my computer, and then I can open up the and then you can see this little Scilabs port right here, because if I don't do that, I won't see this port and I won't be able to connect. So hit that. Okay, so once you're in the GUI screen, I'll show you this. Everything is basically the same as 1.5, except the RSSI is different. So for the settings, I'm just gonna go through them real quick. I like to set my voltage at like 3.6 right there, and then all this other stuff you can leave, and then for RSSI, I'm gonna display RSSI, and then I'm gonna use FC RSSI. And then for now, I'm just going to leave these settings at 0 and 1023, and then I'll show you how to calibrate that later in once you have it connected to your display. And then all this other stuff is just preferences, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to display throttle. I'm going to display flight mode. So flight mode is going to be right here. I'm going to turn off all this other stuff. So I'm not using any of these. And then you can kind of see a preview of your screen right here. So I'm going to turn all this stuff off because I'm not using GPS. And this is a horizontal bar if you want to use it. And then also down here you can see it shows air mode. So it tells you when you have your air mode enabled, it'll show you right here. So that's pretty much it for all your settings. And then just make sure you hit right before you disconnect. So I've been getting a lot of questions from readers asking if you can use the OSDoge with other flight controllers other than the NACE32, and the answer is yes. I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. So right here, I have the OSDoge 1.5 connected on my QAVR right now, and I'm running a Lumineer Lux. Sorry for the super messy build. This is one of my tester quads right now, because I'm trying a whole bunch of different flight controllers for the next build. But as you can see here, the I got so many wires just hanging all over the place. I'm using a Lumineer Lux, as you can see. So to hook up the OSDoge to your any flight controller other than NACE32, all you have to do is connect the VBAT right here. So this wire right here is just coming from my PDB. This is battery, and then you're just going to connect it to VBAT, and then your RX-TX is just going to connect to, let me move this, connect to RX-TX on your flight controller. So I'm using R2 and T2 on my Lux right here, and it's connecting to this. So that's pretty much it, all you have to do. And then when you connect the VBAT to your OSDoge, it's gonna give you the power for your video camera and transmitters and all that stuff. So the RX-TX is gonna give you the information, the OSD info that's gonna overlay on the OSD. So I like to keep one of these OSDs on hand, set up like this, so when I'm flying a board other than NACE32, like the Flux or the Lux or the Dodo, which I'm trying also, I connect it this way so I can tune my PIDs. So that way I don't have to use the computer and plug it up and change my PIDs and stuff. I can do it right from the OSD, and it makes it really easy to lock down your PIDs. Okay, so once you have your OSD set up in the GUI and your Tyrannus programmed for the RSSI and all that stuff, I'll show you how to calibrate the voltage in your OSD and the RSSI. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a LiPo battery checker like this, and then you're going to measure your battery voltage. So right now this battery is measuring 16.7, so just remember that number. And then this is just my little test rig for the OSDs. I got my battery going in here, and then just transmitters, whatever. Let's turn this on. Free Sky Tyrannus. And then I'll be using an external monitor to hopefully make it easier. DB, engine off. Make it easier for you guys to see. So I got my lens cap on the camera right here. So, okay, so once you're in this screen, you're gonna go on your controller, you're gonna go mid throttle, yaw right, and pitch up, and then it'll bring you into the OSD screen. And then from here, you're gonna scroll over to your voltage, and then go up to where it says adjust voltage, and then just change this number until this number matches what we got on the battery checker. So you're just gonna change this. I think it was like 16.7 or something. So just adjust it until it matches. And then next we're gonna go to adjust RSSI. So to see your RSSI, just go to your Tyrannus, and then on the main page, hit page down, and then you'll see your RSSI right here on the bottom. So right here, we're seeing 98, and then our RSSI and the OSD is showing, it's like one over. So you're just gonna adjust this number until it matches this one. Whoops, wrong way. So now it's matching. It wasn't that far off, but that's how you do it. So you just scroll down, and then you just go save and exit. And now your OSD is set up for all your settings, calibrated and everything. Okay, so that's how you set up the OSD 1.5. Just a quick overview. Hope you found this video helpful, and watch out for my next video, because I'm going to show you how to build this QAVR right here. And I'm still testing out all the components, but trust me, this thing is going to be super fast. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.